Detroit Den 313, Detroit Lions fans, welcome back. Steve here. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, you enjoy Detroit Lions podcast, hit that subscribe button, help me grow. It's greatly appreciated. We got a big game coming up. That goes without saying. Like, I'm not breaking any news when I say that the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship isn't a big game. Here's what I have an issue with. I'm not bitching. Detroit Lions are in the NFC Championship. It's exactly where we want to be. Final four. We're one of the final four teams left, getting ready to go to the Super Bowl. Got to take care of business in San Francisco. But I've been thinking all week, and if you've been watching my shows this week, you've heard me say that this matchup with San Francisco is going to be a game of who has the most offensive weapons. And on paper, and I know on paper doesn't mean shit. You still got to show up, execute on Sundays. But on paper, looking at the Detroit Lions offensive weapons versus the San Francisco 49ers offensive weapons, offense for offense, I think Detroit Lions have the edge. I think we have a huge edge, especially if Deebo Samuel doesn't play because he's banged up with that shoulder injury. But weapon for weapon, man, I think our biggest weapon's not even being used. And I've talked about this kid numerous times. I've probably done more shows on Jameson Williams than any other YouTube podcaster on the face of the earth multiplied by 10. I'm talking about this kid once a week. Listen, I'm going to call Ben Johnson out real quick. I'm not angry. I just have some questions. When is Ben Johnson going to realize what a weapon Jameson Williams is? We talk all the time about Ben Johnson being one of the most creative and the youngest offensive coordinators in the NFL. Yet every single week, I see our biggest threat being used as just a decoy, a speedster to open up the space for the other players like St. Brown, Laporta, even Josh Reynolds. Jameson Williams is just being used to move safeties around so that these guys can have some more room to operate. And that's fine. That's okay to do that sometimes. But you have a kid who's probably one of the top 4 fastest guys in the NFL than Jameson Williams. Like, I'm not going to, Tyreek Hill's number 1. Throw out some names for 2 and 3. I don't know. There's some guys that are pretty damn fast in this league, but Jameson Williams is in the conversation. He's just, I don't love the way that they're using him. Just on the season, Jameson Williams, 24 catches, 354 yards, 2 touchdowns, has another rushing touchdown. This is a kid that was drafted 12th overall. Wasn't Jahmyr Gibbs drafted 12th overall too? And he's an absolute weapon that we use the right way. I love the way that we use Jahmyr Gibbs in the passing game, the running game, between the tackles, outside. You never know what type of run scheme we're going to have when we have Jahmyr Gibbs in there. So I'm looking at Jameson Williams. How do we get him to be the same type of weapon? He was drafted in the same slot. He was known for his speed, just like Jahmyr Gibbs. He's known for his playmaking ability, and we don't get him the ball. It doesn't make sense to me. Just looking at since the Denver Broncos game was that, I think that was the Saturday night game. Jameson Williams' best game of his career was against Minnesota on Christmas Eve. 5 catches for 43 yards, 6 targets. You're telling me that a kid who was drafted in the top 15 and he's in year, we'll call it 1.5, year 1.5, because last year he missed a lot of time, the suspension, maybe even just year 1. Basically, let's call him a rookie, I guess. You're telling me that the best you can do, his career high at this point of the season, is 5 catches for 43 yards. I have an issue with how Jameson is being used and I know we've talked on the show that maybe we have something dialed up for the playoffs, but we're going into the 3rd game of the playoffs, and I really haven't seen anything change with Jameson Williams. And again, it sounds like I'm bitching, and I get it. I in a way I am, but at the end of the day, what we're doing is working. We're in the NFC Championship, for God's sake. I'm just pointing out some things there. I think we're leaving a lot of meat on the bone with this offense. And I think it's now or never against San Francisco, where Jameson Williams has to get going. And it's not even Jameson Williams' fault. It's mainly Ben Johnson. And I love Ben Johnson. He is one of the best offensive coordinators in the league. I just think we could be using him a little bit better. When it comes to Jameson Williams, at the absolute very least, bare minimum, we could be using Jameson Williams' speed in so many other ways instead of just lining up, running into safety and forcing him to move so the space opens up for the other guys. Put the kid in motion. Use the threat of jet sweeps, pop passes, catches in the flat where there's some room open, and start building it from there with some crossing routes, deeper slants and pulls. Like there's options for Jameson Williams. And I get it, guys. I'm just a guy in my office talking Detroit Lions football. I'm not an offensive coordinator at any level of football. I'm just a fan. I like to dissect things a little deeper than just watching a game and talking the final score. Use the speed you drafted him for. That's all I'm asking. Get him the ball more than twice. Get him involved. The kid is blocking his ass off. He's saying all the right things in interviews that he in post-game shows about how he wants to be in Detroit for a long time. When has that ever been a thing? Usually people are itching to get out of here. Even players like Ndamukong Suh, man, he couldn't wait to get out of Detroit. The culture has changed. If we want to keep these guys here, that's great. I love Jameson Williams. I want him to be in Detroit for a long time. I need to see him getting the ball more. I get it. I understand we're winning football games. We're winning big football games with the way. And a lot of you are going to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I understand. I've used that mantra myself. I'm just saying, I'm okay with how we've got here. We've gotten here without using JMO a lot. This game against San Francisco is different. This defense is of the 49ers is not the same as when D'Amico Ryans was their defensive coordinator. It's not the same as Robert Saleh when he was here as their defensive coordinator, but they still have a damn good defense. We are going to need every single player to show up. This is the biggest game in Detroit Lions history, in my opinion. I get it. I wasn't alive in 1957, so for me, this is the biggest game. I was 3 years old in 1991. I was probably wearing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle underpants at that time. So this is the biggest game for me going into my life. The NFC Championship game. It's going to take a team effort. St. Brown, dog. Sam Laporta, dog. Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, best running back duo in the league. Josh Reynolds is playing hot. We still have another weapon out there that I just feel is untapped. Guys, I know it sounds like I'm bitching. I'm not. I'm happy. I'm absolutely thrilled with where we are. I'm just saying my point is this and this alone. We're going to need every single player on Sunday against this 49ers team. They're fighting for their Super Bowl too. And they have the more pressure on them. Shanahan, he's kind of been knocking on the door. He's kind of had a lot of expectations throughout his coaching career so far in San Francisco. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the San Francisco 49ers team. We talk about windows all the time. San Francisco is one of those teams that's been in that window for a little bit. How long is it going to stay open? I don't know. I'm not a San Francisco 49ers podcast. I'm Detroit Lions. Our window is just opening. So when I look at the San Francisco 49ers, the pressure's on them. They've been in this scenario for years where they just haven't gotten over that hump, and they're going to be throwing everything at us but the kitchen sink. So that's why I think this is the week to get Jameson Williams going. So like I said, Jameson Williams is blocking his ass off. He's saying everything right. My question to you guys is, what else does he have to do to earn the trust of mainly Ben Johnson, maybe even Dan Campbell, to get more involved in the passing game, running game? I don't care. What does it take? Leave it in the comments down below. Hit that like button. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, guys. We'll be back later with some more content.